Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is not part of your regularly scheduled program. I'm your host, Ian, and normally I'm joined by my other host, Dylan, but he is currently being quarantined at his house because the people that he stay with don't feel comfortable with him leaving the house a whole lot. So it's a solo cast today, just you and me. But yeah, it's been pretty interesting. I want to say it's 2, maybe 3 weeks that we've been self-quarantined because of this whole coronavirus situation. Everyone's either making episodes or making podcasts about it because everyone's getting antsy, being inside all day. It's definitely a weird experience that a lot of us haven't, I don't think any of us have ever dealt with before, so it's very strange and new territory, but I'm making the most of it. It is very early. I went ahead and made myself some tea, and so, let's get into it. Let's just jump right into it. I just had a couple things I wanted to talk about just to get off my chest and to, again, partially because I don't feel like I have a whole lot of people to talk to right now. So I feel like I'm, going a little bit stir crazy. Cabin fever doesn't even begin to to define what's going on right now. But the big thing I wanted to talk about that I feel like I had the opportunity to talk about was, in a moment like this, it's so easy for everyone to get so tied up in all of the bad stuff going on. Again, this is all just in my life and in my perspective that I've seen from people around me, is that it's just so easy to get tied up in all the bad stuff that's going on, because again, it's for some people it is a very real thing, that it's dangerous and it's bad, and there's a lot of stuff to get focused on about, but what I'm trying to get to is that there's always something to be thankful about. There's always something that you can look at and realize that you still have it pretty good, that even though it feels like the world is going to hell in a handbasket, there is still stuff that you can look at and say, I'm thankful that I have those sort of things, whether it be a house or a job still, or family members, or a significant other that you can hold at night. Like, all of those things that really make you realize how thankful and grateful that you are for some of the things that you have. And I feel like I need to hear that, and I feel like people in my life need to hear that, which is why I think I feel like I have to say it. But there's so many cool things I feel like that are coming out of this. I follow a lot of musicians and I follow a lot of artists, and they're all making stuff with their free time, and it's very inspiring, and it's very cool to see how everyone feels so isolated, but because of the internet and a lot of the stuff that we have nowadays, it feels like we're so together all at the same time. So it's very weird to communicate with my friends or colleagues or coworkers or whatever you want to call it digitally and still feel like everyone is so the communication between everybody is so good, but, or at least in my circle, obviously, but at the same time, everyone feels so distant and so, don't touch me, I'm sterile kind of feeling moment. It's a weird time we're living in, and I have a feeling that we're going to make it out of this. Each one of us is going to be a little different, but it's also going to be something that will tell the future generations about. I feel like, you ever have those moments in history where you feel like at least again, for me at least, I've experienced something, or I've been somewhere and I've been like, I'm gonna get to in the future tell people, or even like my kids one day, that like I did this sort of thing, and like that's crazy, you know. And I feel like this is one of those moments where it's like, yeah, well, back in my day, the beginning part of 2020, man, we had to endure through staying at home for 3 weeks by ourselves with nothing to do. So, I don't know. I try to look for the positives on a lot of stuff. I don't really feel like there's... and I know I'm not the only one. I know there's a lot of people out there that do the same sort of things. I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm something special that I'm not, but, you know, just don't take for granted what you have. If you have people in your life, if you have family, if you have even just a house to go home to, just don't take it for granted. Just really appreciate what you have, and the time that you're given, don't waste it, because you're not guaranteed anything in life. So work hard and keep at it. That's I'm not gonna say that. I'm just gonna drink my tea and you guys can fill in the blank. One thing I'm going to talk about today is, again, going back to some of the creators and the artists that I've been talking about and following. I follow a musician named Jacob Collier, and he is like, oh man, if you haven't heard of any of his stuff, I really encourage you to go take a look at it. If you're not really big into jazz or kind of very music heavy, I don't know if that's the correct word to say for that even. He's like a prodigy, like a genius musician. I don't think he says that, or it's not official, but I'll say that. Any instrument he touches, he can just play very well, and is an incredibly talented musician, and makes me jealous every time I see anything he makes. But at the same time, is also encouraging. He has a very fusion kind of. It's a weird genre because it doesn't really feel like jazz, like the contemporary aspect of it. It's weird. I'm getting in the weeds for that, but the big thing is just he has a way of turning anything into something like I will just enjoy. And I've noticed that over the past few years, and especially this more recent example that I'm going to talk about more so. He does a little rendition of the song Hallelujah, and it's like the one that's kind of played at Christmas time, sort of, for some reason, even though it's not a Christmas song. There was a secret chord that David played and pleased the Lord, sort of thing. That song, he did like his own rendition of it, but it's just him on a piano with a microphone and a bunch of reverb cranked up, and he's just playing. And man, I normally don't really care for that song. That's just a personal preference. I get it. It's like one of those old songs, or it's like a classic song that everyone loves, and I can appreciate it, and I get it. I get why people love it. It is a very beautiful song, but I'm not usually one that gets on the bandwagon of like, oh my gosh, I have to hear it, Again, just personal preference. But, he played that song and just did his own thing with it, and I sat back and was like, man, what? There's no way. I enjoyed every minute of it and was like, that is just proof right there that him as a musician and him doing his own thing and putting his own spin on it makes it into something. It's the same thing, but it's just his own way and his own, it's just different. And I really enjoyed it and just had a lot of fun. And I listened to it a couple times. I was like, man, it made me appreciate the song itself more, I think. Looking back at it, like, because of the way he did it, I was able to like see, I was able to get that emotional connection that I feel like other people have with the song that I didn't, that made it feel, that made, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm making any sense. People usually have an emotional connection with the song, and that's why it's so, they love it so much, because again, the atmosphere or the time in their life or the actual, you know, what they're going through, or, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes around music that makes it so beautiful and so awesome. And I feel like that was my moment with that song, and I was like, I get it now. It's a very beautiful song, and I needed it at that time, I guess. I don't know. Let me know if you if you have any moments like that with a song or with anything. I really love making connections with music. It's just, music has been a big part of my life for so long, and even though my tastes have changed or hobbies have differed or I've changed as a person, music has always been that one thing, like playing and making music, I guess is what I should say, has always been that one thing that's kind of brought it all back around and has made it, has just stood the test of time for me, that regardless of where I'm at in my life or what I'm doing or my profession, for instance, I can always come back to my acoustic guitar, or I can always, you know, write a song or play something, and it's always been like a very therapeutic, I guess, a thing. But yeah, I know I'm not the only one. There's people have been doing that since the dawn of time, I think. But yeah, I'm still looking for movies and TV shows to watch and getting some suggestions set aside, because once this is all over with, I want Dylan and I to just hit the ground running and to just start knocking out some episodes. I think that'd be a lot of fun, and that's actually one things that I think I was more upset about that ended up not panning out was we ended up starting this and getting some equipment in and started like getting a schedule kind of set aside, and really working towards making this a really cool thing for the two of us. And then this whole virus thing knocked a lot of it off kilter, and it was like, oh man, it felt like, didn't feel like it did. This took a very much a backseat, because again, as you all could probably understand, you know, jobs and income and you know, I guess just like just everything felt more important at the time, because a lot of us either aren't employed or were being threatened, being laid off, and you know, all that kind of stuff. I was lucky enough to still keep my job, or jobs, I guess how you'd say. So I'm not struggling too much, and again, that's not to brag or to gloat or anything. Again, it's just one of those things that going back to the original statement, I'm trying not to lose sight of how awesome that is. You know, like I feel like I'm rambling. It's a moment like this where you can really realize, like, oh, it's just my job, or it's just my jobs, or whatever, and it's no big deal. But it's in this moment where, at the flip of a hat, you know, you could be unemployed, and that's just the fact of the matter that a lot of people are going through. And I was lucky enough to not have to go through that, and just trying to stay thankful through all that. Very grateful for the position that I'm in, because I know that not a lot of people have that. But like, for instance, Dylan, his job was like, there's like one of two things you could do. Either you could pick up work here or get laid off, and that's just the simple fact of it. And to say all that, he's doing well. His family is healthy. He's healthy. He's still working, doing his thing. I'm still doing really good myself, and of course, everyone that I live with, our neck of the woods is doing a-okay. All things considered, little, few bumps in the road, but that's life sometimes, isn't it? And I think I have this outlook because of a lot of stuff that I've been through in the past couple years. Just a little story into myself. Basically, I had moved off to Canada and had lived there for a couple years, basically. Had some opportunities and some things happened, and I got some work there, and it was just I'm originally from the U.S., but I moved to Canada and stayed there for a while, and really enjoyed my time there. There was a lot of opportunities for me there that I just grabbed a hold of all the opportunities I can get. It was a chance for me to, I feel like, get out of my comfort zone, like, fully. Like, I feel like there was points in my life where I, got out of my comfort zone a little bit, but my family was going through a rough time. I felt like I was, like, in a rut, like a real rut, where I was, like, at the same job for a long time, and not a lot of stuff had changed. And has anybody ever had that moment where you get so caught up in your routine that you just sort of get in that motion where you're just doing the same thing in and out, and then you wake up, and then, like, 6 months of your life has disappeared, and you had no idea? Like, it felt like just a few weeks, or it felt like a few days. And I had those moments at the place that I was currently working at the time, and that was like that realization for me, where I was like, oh my gosh, it's been 6 months, it's been 9 months, and it feels like no time has passed at all. And that scared the hell out of me. I was like, what am I doing? And it was like a real wake-up call. And so later on, and I want to say that was in like 2016, so like 17, I just hit the ground running. I like started the new year. I was like, I don't do resolutions, but so help me God, I gotta do something. And so, like, I just started 2017 just breaking every routine I had. Everything that I felt was normal, changed it all up. And that was good and bad at the same time, as you can imagine. Moved out of the place that I was living in, moved in with my best friend, and we started a whole journey together. Took a vacation, met a girl, just a whole, everything that could happen happened, and I was just like, okay, it was like one thing after the next, basically. But I had the most fun in 2017. That was like the best year I've had in a long time. I guess you could say it was the best year of my life so far, because I feel like I can have better. But I did everything. And how did I get on this subject? Well, it doesn't matter. I'll continue. Basically, the stuff, I want to say it was like the middle of the year is when all of the stuff started happening in preparation for Canada. I went there on a vacation right after the summer. I think it was like August. found those opportunities and yet again just started saying yes to just everything. Excuse me while I drink my tea. And so I just started just going, just doing it. After I came back from that trip, because in August my best friend and I went to Canada to like visit and stuff, and that was when we visited people we knew there, and then like that was when everything popped off. That was when I went there and saw all of it and was just in it all the way. I think I know how I got on this subject. This is a long-winded story, but we're getting there, trust me. Oh my gosh. I can't believe this. I came back from that vacation, was like, I want to live there. I want to, because of reasons, I was like, I want to work there, I want to live there. I don't know how long, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I want to, need to, is what it felt like. Because again, all the stuff that was going on, I wasn't running away from my problems, but it felt like there was nothing that was like a direct connection to me that was a problem. So I felt like I could disconnect myself and not feel like I'm hindering anybody. This is all vague on purpose, obviously, but there was a whole lot that went on, and I was like, I just need to get out. Not only do I need to find some independence, but I need to find myself, and I just need to, again, continue this habit, continue this like cycle of just breaking all my habits that I have. And so like the last like 5 months or 6 months of 2017, I just was researching how can I live and stay in Canada, and found a way. And this is where everything comes together. I look back on that time and realized I had some of my highest points in Canada and some of my lowest points at the same time. And I don't regret any of it. I think that's the big takeaway from all of it, is that I don't regret any of the things that I did to get to Canada. I don't regret any of the decisions that I made while I was there. I feel very at peace about the whole situation. But to say that, it was fun, but at the same time it was very hard, because this was a whole new world for me. I was fully on my own in a place that I'd never been before, in a foreign country, even though it's not super foreign, but it's just foreign enough to where like it was just different enough to be difficult. They don't follow the same unit like of a measurement as far as like distance and like miles per hour to kilometers per hour, or like even like the temperature degrees were different. The people had different slang for stuff. It was just like even though it was still pretty close to home, all things considered, it was still 2,000 miles away from home. And so like you have those moments where you sit there and you're like, oh man, I'm so far away from home. I had moments when I would sit there and I felt so, after I had been there for a long time, I guess here we go, we're getting there. After I had been there for a while and had made friends, and I had kind of felt like I had made a connection there, I started to look back and get a little homesick, and I had that feeling of like, I can't just like go down the road to see my mom or to see my dad, like to just go ride down and go out to eat with them or something. And it was moments like that where like I couldn't just go see my parents for just a minute or two if they needed me, or if I wanted just to go say hey, like that just wasn't going to happen because they were just so far away. And it was moments like that where I was like, oh man, I feel so alone. And then that didn't get, I guess a better way to put it is I didn't do a great job of dealing with some of that stuff. So like I took a vacation back down, got to see everybody again, and it was really awesome. And I was still doing a lot of fun stuff and a lot of things that I'd never done before in Canada. And it was just, I felt like a new person, and I was really finding myself. But then things started to take a turn. I was in a relationship that was, at the time, wasn't, I think, the best for me. And it didn't make my already not great situation any better. And it was neither, I'm not blaming her for what happened. It was both of our faults in this situation, to be honest. We got ourselves in a bad spot with our living condition. I couldn't afford where we were living, and then things just went downhill from there, as you can imagine. And like I hit such a rock bottom where it was like I had never been that low before, where like I've always been proud of like my finances and being able to keep up with my money, and I always feel like I was very frugal with it and responsible. At least I felt like that. And that was the first time in my life where I had nothing. And I was like scrounging up change to try and feed us. And it was like, man, I had never been in a moment like that before. And it didn't get any better. And it felt like it just kept going down and down and down. And then that was when I had to like pull the plug. It was like, I have to go back home. I have to help myself at some point. I felt like I was putting her before myself. And if there's one thing that I've learned from people that are smarter than me, is how do you expect to help anybody else if you can't help yourself? And I had to look at myself in the mirror and say that and mean it. But yeah, that's kind of the point that I was getting at with all of that, is like after coming off of like that super low rock bottom and feeling like the only place you can go is up, and I still feel like I'm doing a lot better, even though that was a few years ago. It still feels very real. It still feels very fresh in my mind. And so even though all this stuff is going on, I can still look at it and go, man, I'm a lot better than what I was when I was there. And all that there was a long-winded story, just to basically say that I feel like I have a very different outlook because of all that stuff that I've been through, to bring it all back around, because I felt like I rambled for a little too long there. Anyways, I should probably wrap this up. If there's anything that you guys have been going through, or anything you want to talk about, or if you want to send in a request for one of the movies that we will watch on this channel, because again, this is a after movie review show, you can follow me at Ian Wolfe, WOLFFE, on Instagram. That's my handle for most things. You can find me anywhere with that, Ian Wolfe. And yeah, I'd love to hear from everybody, see what you guys are up to. How has the quarantine how's it for everyone else around here? I'm trying to make the most of it. I have been playing so much music and just, to be quite honest, doing a lot of shopping online just for the hell of it, because again, what else is there to do? And the funny thing is, I haven't really watched a whole lot of movies or TV or like Netflix or anything, which is probably sad, but I mean, I don't know. Just getting tied up with other stuff, keeping myself busy in other aspects of life. I've been getting back into like my old passions, old video games and stuff like that. Older music, just all kinds of stuff. Just really, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little nostalgic, a little retrospective, a little chance for me to stop and smell the roses, the fragrance of dark coffee, just sitting down and, enjoying it. Anyways, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. And until next time, see ya.